This is section 9.4. We're going to be talking about circles and about arcs. Most of this is actually probably going to be review for you, especially the first half of it. So let's first get down a definition of circles. Circles are a set of points equidistant from the center. Alright, so this first one, CD, we call this a radius because it goes from the center D. And then the second one, AB, we call a diameter because it goes all the way across the circle. Alright, the area of a circle, the equation, which most of you know, is pi r squared. Circumference equation is 2 pi r. There's a difference between r squared and 2r, so make sure you don't get those equations mixed up. And finally, remember that d, the diameter, equals 2 times r. We'll need that in some of our problems. In this first one, we have a circle with a diameter of 16. So that means the radius is 8 and 8. So that top radius I highlighted is 8 and the bottom radius is 8. We want to find the area. First, remember the equation for area is pi r squared. Okay. Well, we know r. We just figured it out. It's 8. So pi 8 squared is 64 pi. Now, two things. Two ways to write this on the calculator. You can type it in as 64 and use the pi button. And if you use the pi button, the answer you'll get is 201.06. If instead on the calculator you times 64 times 3.14, which are the first 3 digits of pi, we get 200.96 meters squared, because we're dealing with area. So make sure, so for consistency's sake, we're going to make sure that we use 3.14 for pi. Even though it's actually not as accurate, we're going to be all consistent. Alright, second one, we're given the area and we want to find diameter. So remember, area equals pi r squared. So we already know the area is 28, so 28 equals pi r squared. First, we have to solve for r before we can solve for d, because there's no d in the equation. So to solve for r, I have to divide both sides by pi. So I'm left with 28 over pi equals r squared. Divide 28 by pi in the calculator, I get 8.9. Then I have to take the square root of r to square root of r squared to solve for just r, because I'm not solving for r squared here, I'm solving for r. So I have to take the square root of 8.9 and the square root of r squared. I get r equals 2.98. Now remember, we're actually solving for diameter, so I have to multiply the radius by 2 to get to the diameter, and my final answer becomes 5.97 centimeters. So we're going to try to find the circumference of these two problems, but we're going to leave the answer in terms of pi. So in this first one, circumference equals 2 pi r, and we already know the radius is 10, so 2 pi 10, which equals 20 pi. Okay, so I'm not going to plug it in my calculator because the directions said leave in terms of pi. In the second one, I'm given that the circumference is 48, and I want to solve for r. So 48 equals 2 pi r, divide both sides by 2 pi just to get r all by itself on one side of the equation. I'm left with 24, which is 48 divided by 2, over pi equals r. And I'm going to leave it like that because I'm leaving the answer in terms of pi. A central angle is an angle whose vertex, or the pointy thing, is at the center of the circle. So we're going to call that angle 1, and we can also call that angle not only angle 1, because it's marked angle 1, but angle CDB. Remember, D always has to be the vertex. An arc is a part of this is the part of the circle's circumference. So I'm looking for an entire arc which is curved, and that's going to be CB. And a semicircle, you know the definition of a semicircle, it's half of the circle. Two final definitions are that of a minor arc. A minor arc is smaller than a semicircle, So in this case, it could be CB, and the way that I write it is a CB with a little arc over the letters. I could have also written CA, because that's less than a semicircle. And a major arc is bigger than a semicircle. So I write it with 3 letters, CBA. So in this first problem, we're trying to find the arc for angle 1. And if they don't say minor or major, then you assume that it's a minor. So we're looking for the minor arc. Minor arc of angle 1 is LK. The major arc for angle 1 is the opposite side of the angle, really, so it's LIK. Now remember, major arc has to have 3 letters. On the problem on the right, central angle formed by arc GH would be angle 1. Central angle formed by IGJ would be angle 3. This final problem is solving for the question marks. So if we know that a circle is 360 degrees, we can find the angle of this angle right here, okay, which is going to be the same as its arc angle right here. So to find this one, 360 minus 130 equals 230. So we subtracted this one first, and then we subtract 125, so 230 minus 125 gives us 105. So this angle is 105, which means the arc is 105. In the second problem, first thing you need to do is go ahead and recognize that they're vertical angles. That's why this one on the left is 42 degrees, because it's a vertical angle of the 42 that's already given to me. Now, I'm solving for an arc, which means I need to find its central angle. And see how I have a semicircle here? Well, a semicircle is half of a circle. Circle's 360 degrees. So 42 plus that central angle that we're trying to solve for, plus 80 equals 180 degrees, because that's half of a circle, so it's half of 360. So I have my question mark, combine like terms here, plus 122 equals 180, subtract 122. My question mark is 58 degrees. So the angle is 58 degrees, which means the arc is also 58 degrees.